at 11.
This is the CBS Evening News. Bob Schieffer sitting in tonight for Dan Rather, who's on assignment. Good evening. Food prices are going up next year, maybe as much as 6%. That is the forecast today as the Agriculture Department released its latest look at the devastating effect the drought is having on the nation's crops. Frank Courier reports.
President Reagan today signed the $4 billion drought relief bill for farmers. But the news that kept frenzied reporters scrambling in Washington,
soybeans, 100 million!
and anxious grain traders fidgeting in Chicago, was the Agriculture Department's gloomiest crop report since the Depression.
It's not a complete failure, but it is a disastrous situation. We have suffered a massive crop loss.
The headlines: American farmers will harvest 37% less corn, 13% less wheat, 23% fewer soybeans.
Me to believe that perhaps this crop can continue to still go downhill if this weather continues hot and dry.
The scattered rains, which twice this week soaked parts of the Midwest Farm Belt, arrived too late here in Illinois, where 67% of the corn crop is rated poor to very poor. But the moisture may have come in time for soybeans and for Pontiac, Illinois farmers Jim and Rosie Duffy.
I think the gloom and doom has probably been here and maybe past. Things are looking up a little.
Watchdog groups are monitoring grocery price increases as drought-conscious consumers brace for predicted sticker shock this fall at the supermarket. And the drought itself is raising questions over who profits.
It's being used by retail food purveyors to raise prices, and it's being used by farmers as a way to go into Washington and belly up to the government trough. A lot of people are using the drought.
At a popular Mexican restaurant in Chicago, the owner has twice raised prices on the menu because his cost for chicken breasts has soared 75 cents a pound this summer.
I'm a little suspect about the drought being used as a reason for the price of chicken and the price of beef going up.
The drought, which has driven up world grain prices, is a bonanza for farmers in debt-ridden South American countries. With the wheat harvest now underway, Argentina expects a $2 billion windfall from farm exports.
The drought in the U.S. has motivated us a lot. We're very enthusiastic about expanding our acreage.
We have taken advantage of their bad years, too, and maybe it's our turn to take a beating.
But the beating may be a blessing for farmers who will see a boost in market prices as the drought helps run down America's enormous unwanted surplus of grain. Frank Courier, CBS News, Chicago.
Led by New York's Chase Manhattan, major banks across the country today raised their prime lending rate half a point to 10%. That is the highest prime rate in more than 3 years, and it came after action earlier this week by the Federal Reserve Board designed to push up interest rates to hold inflation at bay. That could mean higher prices for homes, even as housing prices were sharply up in some parts of the country, and David Dow has more on that.
This is a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath home.
It looks like the kind of modest house that used to launch many a new family. But it just sold for $215,000. And that is just over the median price for houses in this section of California's Orange County, where housing costs have shot up more than 20% in the last year. It is the hottest, most expensive real estate market in the country, but not the only one that is booming. House sales nationally rose nearly 10% in the second quarter of this year.
Generally, the hot housing market is an interaction of a lot of people looking for houses. Interest rates relatively moderate and unemployment down.
Double-digit price increases have occurred in major cities on both coasts. But even statistics don't convey the buying frenzy in some of the trendier neighborhoods. Take the west side of Los Angeles, for instance, where small 2- and 3-bedroom houses often sell for more than $400,000.
Sometimes we have 7 or 8 buyers coming in to buy the same property, and many times the houses don't even stay on the market for more than a couple of hours.
Jackie Dagg and her husband rented a house for 2 years, then found they couldn't afford to buy one in the same neighborhood.
The least we could find was a 2-bedroom for $250,000 that was a fixer-upper.
Not every region has shared in the surge. In the energy capitals of Oklahoma, Texas, and Colorado, falling oil prices have driven down the housing market too. And federal action pushing up interest rates may soon affect the market elsewhere.
What the Fed has done in its recent actions has thrown some water on it. Not enough to drown that market, but enough to dampen it.
Is your second
In
bedroom?
fact, it is the fear of higher interest rates that may have contributed to recent sales, what one broker called a now or never mentality. David Dow, CBS News, Los Angeles.
The government reported today that July's hot weather resulted in a national air conditioning bill last month of $4.3 billion. That's $255 million more than the cost during a typical July. The only states where cooling costs were below normal last month were Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Heat wave didn't keep consumers from buying cars and clothes last month. The government says retail sales climbed a moderate 0.5% last month. Sources in George Bush's campaign organization disclosed today that the recent polling they've been doing suggests that Kansas Senator Bob Dole would help the ticket more than any of the other Republicans being considered as Mr. Bush's running mate. But those sources say a Bush-Dole ticket would only slightly be stronger than any other combinations being considered, and one advisor said it really doesn't help enough to make a difference. Dan Rather was in Washington today to interview the vice president, and Bush told him that he'll make the decision on a running mate almost alone. Here's part of the conversation.
Will we know before the convention actually starts?
I don't think so.
During the convention, then?
Yes, sometime during the convention. But there won't be any leaks of this one, because I am not going to tell a soul, and I haven't so far, and I've read stories about it, and some of them get close to accurate, and some of them are 180 degrees wrong.
Got a big speech coming up.
Yes.
Speech, your acceptance speech. Do you feel the pressure?
Yes.
Can we talk about that?
Sure.
How do you take the pressure off?
Play horseshoes and go running. And recognize that you just can only do your best. And I've been in a few pressure spots in my life, but I think I'll do all right. I know what I am, and I want to try to convey that. And I know what I'm not. I'm no Williams Jennings Bryant. And I think it'll go okay.
More on that interview with the Vice President and Mrs. Bush can be seen on a special pre-convention broadcast Saturday night at 10, 9 Central Time. Michael Dukakis, who's been taking some sharp blows from the Vice President this week, began a two-day trip through 5 states today and tried to return the fire. Bill Whitaker now with that.
Michael Dukakis went on the offense today, stung by charges from George Bush that his defense and foreign policy positions would make the world unsafe. Dukakis today returned the favor, charging the Reagan administration with misguided and wasteful defense policies.
If we're serious about maintaining a strong national defense for this country, we've got to make the tough choices, my friends, that we haven't been willing to make for the past 8 years.
The tough talk was designed to cast Dukakis as a decisive leader. He even brought out Democratic big gun New York Governor Mario Cuomo for support.
The only important defense and foreign policy mission that our vice president was ever given was leadership of our forces in the war on drugs. And we are losing that war.
Later, Dukakis toured nearby Fort Dix Army Base. While slapping the Reagan administration with one hand, Dukakis has been patting it on the back for popular policies with the other. Earlier this week, he said he was closer to Reagan on U.S.-Soviet relations than George Bush.
The idea that a person that wants to cut the MX, cut the midget man, get rid of the B-1 bomber, cut out 2 carrier task force can equate his foreign policy with Ronald Reagan's just makes no sense at all.
Dukakis campaign insiders admit Bush scored a direct hit with his recent attacks, knocking Dukakis from his lofty post-convention poll advantage. The most recent CBS New York Times poll shows nearly half of all voters are uneasy about Dukakis' ability to handle an international crisis. Democratic observers say Dukakis must get out in front on this issue.
He has to develop an image with the American public that shows that he can handle the job as a man and that he has the knowledge to handle it.
Dukakis says he's not going to respond to every Republican broadside, but today he defended himself on defense, and tomorrow he heads south to talk tough on crime, another issue Republicans see as a Dukakis weakness. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, New York.
The Senate tonight unanimously confirmed former Pennsylvania Governor Richard Thornburg as Attorney General, succeeding Edwin Meese. The vote 85-0 in Senate testimony last week. Thornburg pledged to run the Justice Department with the highest ethical standards. Still ahead on the CBS Evening News tonight, John Blackstone will report on a move to stop drug testing of student athletes, and Peter Van Zandt on efforts to throw a lifeline to workers in the nation's most dangerous job.
tonight. Close your eyes, say goodnight. Sweet dreams are on their way. All is well as you end the day. Sleep safe, sweet dreams, good night.
Salmon X2 has the one sleep ingredient doctors recommend most to help you fall asleep safely without worry. Salmon X2.
Good night.
Oh, look at me back in the 60s, working up a sweat. Oh, and that's how I used to pump iron. Not today. Today we're exercising more and eating less red meat. But red meat is a great source of iron.
Only Kellogg's Bran Flakes has high fiber and 100% of the iron recommended today.
So now I pump a little iron outside and inside. You know, I haven't felt this good since I burned that bathing suit.
Kellogg's Bran Flakes.
The problem with foreign oil is that the price and supply goes up and down. To get off this roller coaster, America can use its own coal and nuclear energy. America can count on coal and nuclear energy.
Dentuaries. I want to get fresh with you. With my Mint Fresh Polident. It's got a minty mouthwash ingredient, so it freshens up dentures as it cleans tough stains. Try Super Strength Polident Green, the mouth-freshening clean. Ah.
A program to test student athletes in this country for drugs has been dealt a severe blow. A California state judge ruled against the NCAA-sponsored program at Stanford University. The judge held that the required testing invaded student athletes' privacy. More on it from John Blackstone.
The ruling that student athletes cannot be forced to take drug tests applies only to students at Stanford University. But as a precedent, it's likely to affect drug testing on campuses across the country.
What happens at other schools is going to be up to other schools, other athletes who will have to stand up for their constitutional rights. But they've got a terrific case now that they can rely on.
Under the rules of the National Collegiate Athletic Association, all student athletes must agree to take drug tests to compete in NCAA games. Two Stanford athletes, soccer player Jennifer Hill and football player Barry McKeever, challenged that rule as an unconstitutional invasion of privacy.
I had done nothing wrong, and they presumed I was guilty until I proved myself innocent with the test. And at that moment, I felt so violated.
I felt that NCAA was basically being Big Brother.
In court, the NCAA argued that drug testing was a reasonable response to a drug problem among student athletes, that it was designed to protect the health and safety of students and to guarantee fair competition. The court ruled, however, that the tests are overly broad and ineffective, and that forcing students to give urine samples while officials watch is a clear invasion of privacy. The NCAA has refused to comment on the ruling, but at most of the 1,000 colleges and universities that belong to the association, testing programs are expected to continue.
We are not going to alter our program until the judicial system tells us to stop.
The Stanford verdict is the first of several court challenges to university drug testing programs. But with expected appeals, most college athletes now competing are likely to have graduated long before the issue is settled. John Blackstone, CBS News, San Francisco.
There was another sad chapter today in a story that attracted national attention last year. It centers on the mother of a 7-year-old boy who died in April of 1987 after 3 liver transplants. Victoria Corderi.
Last year, Maria DeSillers became a symbol of courage for millions as she struggled to raise money for medical care for her son, Ronnie. Today, she is struggling to save her reputation. It's been more than a year since Ronnie died, and now the question is, what happened to the hundreds of thousands of dollars donated on Ronnie's behalf?
Clearly, the monies were not spent consistently with what people were thinking when they gave the money to her.
Nearly $700,000 came pouring in from all over the world when it was learned Ronnie needed a 3rd liver transplant. Even Ronald Reagan sent a check.
Thank you for donating money so I can go to the hospital and get my new liver.
Ronnie didn't survive the operation. His mother started a foundation to help critically ill children. But everything began to unravel when the hospital demanded payment and Maria DeSillers refused. A court-appointed curator discovered she spent more than $200,000 of the foundation money. DeSillers bought jewelry, clothes, and a BMW. According to the court, she bought enough cemetery land to bury 18 bodies. She says she needed to maintain her image as president of the foundation and that she spent the money as Ronnie would have wished. But the court disagrees and is now demanding she turn over everything she bought.
That I'll be damned if I'll turn over the cemetery plot where I was supposed to go next to my son. If they want it, they're going to have to take me with it.
Some of the judgments she made were wrong. Whether that means she should be tarred forever with the description of a symbol of greed is really up to each one of us to make our own determination on.
Today, a judge gave Maria DeSillers 24 hours to make a decision about returning the merchandise. But regardless, the state's attorney's office may still press criminal charges. Victoria Quideri, CBS News, Miami.
Remember when we said that stuff about for richer, for poorer?
I do.
Well, then how come your coffee looks darker than mine?
Mine's decaffeinated Folgers Crystals. Yours is the decaffeinated you always drink.
Did you use the same amount?
Sure. These dark, sparkling crystals are made from Folgers mountain-grown beans.
Mmm, really rich.
Sip.
Mmm.
Love it?
I do.
You do?
I do.
You're crazy about me.
I am.
Trust me.
Decaffeinated Folgers Crystals. So dark and rich. Shouldn't you switch?
Here's Jerry with a new car.
What'd you pay for it?
About $5,900.
Are you kidding?
Does it run on batteries?
Does it have a motor? Does it have a motor?
Can I kick the tires?
Will the door come off the hinges?
Hey, guess what? It's a Subaru!
Oh, a Subaru!
Subaru!
Only one inexpensive car is built like a Subaru. The Subaru Justy.
Such a smart boy! Oh.
Get up to $1,500 cash back or 4.9 financing on a Subaru.
Dedication, attention to detail, and caring. At Realty World, it's not just the quality of the material our jackets are made of, but the quality of the people who wear them.
Now for indigestion, gas. Introducing new Extra Strength Malox Plus. It neutralizes more than any leading antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as new Extra Strength Malox Plus.
Iran and Iraq are scheduled to start peace talks in Geneva in 2 weeks, but secret talks have already begun aimed at freeing some of the hostages held by pro-Iranian groups in Lebanon. Tom Fenton in London has that.
The Archbishop of Canterbury met secretly last night with an Iranian foreign ministry official, and when the news leaked out this morning, he refused to comment. Church officials issued a brief statement that progress can only be made quietly. There was concern the leak might compromise delicate negotiations between Britain and Iran. The late-night meeting centered on efforts to release the Archbishop's special envoy, Terry Waite, and other British hostages held in Lebanon. The fact that Iran dispatched a high-ranking official here was seen as a hopeful sign.
I think this is a small step along what perhaps is a long road to the release of all the hostages.
Relations with Iran hit a low 8 years ago when British commandos bombed the Iranian embassy here during a siege of the building by opponents of Ayatollah Khomeini. Recently, Britain agreed to pay for damage to the embassy. Today, a British diplomat was sent to Iran to discuss reopening the British embassy in Tehran. Other British moves include the recent sending of a parliamentary fact-finding mission to Tehran. One of the members of the mission cautioned today that release of the British hostages would not necessarily mean release of any American hostages.
So sadly, I think to be an American hostage in West Beirut is worse than being a Western European hostage.
There are reports that so-called moderate elements in Iran are trying to improve relations with the United States as well. In both cases, hostages held by pro-Iranian factions in Beirut are being used as bargaining chips. In Britain's case, it looks as if the Iranians are about to play their hand. Tom Fenton, CBS News, London.
Burma's official radio says that rioters burned government buildings in Rangoon today, and heavily armed troops opened fire repeatedly, killing 15 people. The official death count is 80 in 4 days of nationwide protests, but foreign diplomats say the toll is much higher. Rangoon has been paralyzed by the fighting, and the anti-government forces have reportedly taken over several other towns. Protesters are trying to overthrow a hardline military-backed government that was installed following riots earlier this year.
priced an imported car lately, you could be in for import sticker shock. Or a pleasant surprise at your Buick dealer, Buick Century. It's actually priced under smaller imports like Toyota Camry Deluxe and Honda Accord DX. It's loaded with standard features, like room for 6, stereo, even a real trunk. That's more car for the money. That's the value of the Century.
The great American road belongs to Buick.
If you could taste time, the sun, fresh air, if you could taste pride, dedication, this is what it would taste like. Smucker's Low Sugar Spreads. Half the sugar, only 8 calories per teaspoon. All the tradition.
You've always trusted Woolite to care for your sweaters. Wouldn't you love to get that same Woolite care for your rugs and for your chairs? Well, try Woolite Deep Cleaning Rug Cleaner and Woolite Upholstery Cleaner. Trust Woolite Care for rugs and chairs.
If I don't get a good start in the morning, I might feel peaked. I hate that.
Wheaties, 100% whole wheat, naturally low in sugar. That's champion nutrition.
What the big boys eat.
In Washington, federal officials said today that 2 jetliners reportedly flew within 300 feet of each other and almost collided over the Atlantic earlier this week. The officials say the incident involving 2 charter airliners, one from the United States, the other from West Germany, apparently occurred because one plane was flying at the wrong altitude. Both the FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board are investigating. By an overwhelming margin, the Senate today passed a defense bill retaining the restrictions on Star Wars that led to President Reagan's veto of similar legislation. The bill will now go to a House-Senate conference committee after the summer recess. It may not draw as much notice, but the Senate is also preparing a measure which toughens safety regulations for what is being called the most dangerous job in the world. And Peter Van Zandt has our report on that.
A memorial to the dead in Kodiak, Alaska. The names are not of those who have fallen in war, but rather those who lost a battle with the sea. Commercial fishermen who work in the nation's most hazardous occupation.
These are 30-footers there. It might even go a little bit higher than that.
Each year, more than 250 fishing boats sink. Some are swallowed in rough seas.
It's a good place to be when it's like this, in your own little domain. Right there in the
This man survived. Others aren't so lucky. Federal safety officials use this sinking to show how quickly the sea can kill.
All right, get out of here.
4 men went down with the ship.
Commercial fishing is the most dangerous job in America. In just the last year and a half, these Alaskan waters have claimed the lives of 52 fishermen. It's the most deadly industry because its workers are the least protected.
The law allows fishermen to work in rough seas like this with only a simple life preserver. Experts say falling into these icy waters without special survival equipment is a virtual death sentence.
Well, the water's very treacherous. It's very cold. It's not the drowning necessarily that kills you, but the water temperature, which can kill you in 20 minutes.
There is no life raft required. There are no survival suits, emergency radio beacon. It seems crazy to me.
Peggy and Bob Berry have lobbied Congress to pass a minimum safety equipment law for commercial fishermen. Their son Peter died 3 years ago when the boat he was working on sank in freezing Alaskan waters.
Some of these boats are ancient, leaky, uninsured. They don't have the life rafts or whatever the things that you would need to give a crewman a chance when these boats go down. And they go down with great frequency.
A survival suit, like this one, provides flotation and keeps the body warm in icy seas. But safety instructors say many fishermen refuse to buy the suits.
Some people won't even talk about survival, afraid if they do it could happen to them. Other people just have kind of a renegade outlook, a maverick outlook after a while that figure it's not going to happen to me. I don't need to know this stuff.
In fact, some fishermen don't want the government to regulate their industry. Boat owners say they are willing to face the dangers because of the potential for enormous profit, as much as $100,000 a man during a 3-month season.
If I'm going to make my living out here, I should be able to make up my own mind whether I want that equipment on board or not.
Do you have survival suits on board?
We don't have here today.
Debbie Nielsen knows the importance of a survival suit. In January, her fishing boat sank in rough seas, taking the lives of 4 friends. Nielsen's survival suit kept her afloat.
You can't see anything, and you're just being tossed about, by the ocean, and the waves are really large, and you can't even see your hand in front of your face. It's so dark. It was snowing, and it's just like being in a big washing machine.
Safety equipment is a chance.
Fisherman Michael Zimney wants a new safety law. Zimney has lost 2 sons in 2 separate fishing boat accidents.
The safety equipment is not going to bring my 2 sons back. But if I can help the mothers and fathers not to go through what I've gone through.
Oh Lord, we commend you the souls of all those who have died at sea in the past year.
While survivors mourn and hope for new safety rules, the death and grieving at sea goes on. Peter Van Sant, CBS News, Kodiak, Alaska.
And that's the news. Starting tomorrow, Dan Rather will be reporting from our convention headquarters in New Orleans. I'm Bob Schieffer, CBS News in New York. Good night.
Pat Van Patten and Sally Struthers.
Antique cars are still around because their owners always change the oil. Back then, you had to do it yourself. Remember? But today, there's Jiffy Lube. In 10 minutes, the J-Team changes the oil with quality Pennzoil. Here comes the Pennzoil. Replaces the filter, fill the fluids, and lubes the chassis. Want your car to last? Welcome to Jiffy Lube.
We'll take care of you like family.
Pat, meet my antique. Sally, meet mine.
It takes more than years of training to make it to the Olympics. It takes a lot of support. And you can help support the Olympic dream. Because when you clip coupons for selected 3M products, 3M will make a contribution to the United States Olympic team. It's a way for you to help make an athlete's dream come true. Check your Sunday paper for this ad and look for these 3M products. 3M, supporting the dream.
New Cepacol Mint kills plaque germs. But how does it taste? Cepacol Mint fights plaque buildup.
But how does it taste?
Plaque fighting, Cepacol Mint.
But how does it taste?
Tastes great.
Like my mouth took a shower.
Refreshing.
A mint that lasts.
The best tasting way we know to fight plaque.
From the front lines as America fights a deadly invader.
You're under arrest, U.S. Drug Enforcement.
48 hours tonight.
This is CBS.